Hey guys, so some updates. What's happening? It's the second week into the new year. Last week, I passed out the majority of the teacher introductions, new teacher introductions to the students. I had some kids not show up because there's been a corona outbreak in the local area. Got 3 students at the junior high school behind me, and then I think at least one at another elementary school in the south, a kilometer or two away. And then just yesterday, 34 people at a local nursing home. 20 of them were patients, and then 14 were staff. I I don't know how that happened. You think they were being careful, but there is a kind of tendency here because it's so rural. A lot of things that affect the country and the world kind of just don't make it out here, and it's a little bit worrying because they're doing things like I'm part of the what do you call it? Ehon yomi kikase, so like picture book reading at the elementary school, where the parents will read a picture book to the kids, and that's been off for almost a year. And I'm just getting messages today saying they're going to start again because we've been off for so long. And it's like they were overly cautious in the beginning, just following the global trend, because most of the globe was actually being affected. Like my brother back in Seattle, he had coworkers and stuff that caught it, but there were very, very few cases here. And now there's like more than ever, and they're like, okay, it's time to start up again. It's kind of nonsensical. I just don't get it sometimes. But I do feel like it's a good time to be getting out of this altogether. The time has passed, so it's awesome. The new teacher's coming in. I'm pretty much counting the days. I just don't feel it anymore. And like I said so many times, that's when it's time to do something different. So what's happening other than that? Not a whole lot. I'm just kind of holding the line. Trying to keep the pot from boiling over, so to speak, and trying to also to get a little bit better at time management. Working with software, it's very easy to just end up losing hours, and you look back on how you could have done it differently sometimes. So it's really helpful for helping you kind of organize your mind and your approach to the day, which is something I've kind of lost with just really being constantly busy. You get used to always having something to do, but you don't realize you're exhausted, and because of that, you're not as productive as you imagine. And sometimes even just thinking about what you have to do can be overwhelming. If it's something as simple as like, I have to go to the bank today, just like how am I going to get that done? So yeah, those are definitely signs of burnout, and that's something you really, 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 really want to avoid, because it just makes you miserable, So I'm hoping with the spring I can enter into this new lifestyle and start building something and enjoying life a little more. Honestly, since coming to Japan, I haven't really enjoyed my life that much. I've really felt like it's been more of a struggle than anything, and kind of this weird sense of like obligation mixed with is this the right thing? And that's actually quite difficult to maintain long term, as you can imagine. So being able to reconnect with my culture, my country, my language, while still living here and not placing a massive burden of transition on my family, and especially my children, is a really good thing. So it's really just a matter of a couple more months of keeping my head above the water. University classes will be dying down in the next, let me check the calendar here, by the middle of next month, I believe. Do I have the calendar here? You see what I mean? I've just got like stuff all over the place. I don't know what's happening anymore. It's kind of sad. It's not that bad, but it's not that sustainable either. So yeah, my last university class will be February 9th. So a little less than a month away, and that should be nice. So won't be quite as busy. And then just a few more weeks into March, And the Great Transition. It's funny how you can be looking forward to something and spend so much time and energy on it, and then you accomplish it, and it's this feeling of, accomplishment naturally. But as time passes, you get used to it, and then you start viewing it very differently. Kind of like, was this really the right thing? I don't know about all this. And I suppose that's just the nature of human psychology. They talk about serotonin and dopamine are. No, I think it's dopamine is really it's like the impetus to do something, and then once you've done it, it goes away, right? And so you want to do something different or the same thing more or in a more extreme way, and so on and so forth. That's the whole problem with social media and drugs and whatnot, is that it's never permanently satisfying. It's just very fleeting. So sometimes it's good to be able to kind of dial back and just relax. But when you've got so much on your plate and you're juggling cats all day long for years on end, that skill, you lose that skill. It's like you kind of forget how to do that. You feel like, shouldn't I be doing something right now? Or what did I forget? What do I have to do tomorrow? I suppose if you're making millions of dollars, you could handle that, for 10, 15 years. Because you could retire, theoretically, if you didn't die from some stress-related complication. I actually had a friend back in Seattle who did that. He was a lot older than me, actually. I think he was over 30 years older than me. I call him a friend because we went to the same martial arts school and we trained together. And he was always quite generous with his time and his experience. So we had... martial arts can do that with people. It can really bring people of different backgrounds and ages together very intimately, and I think it's probably the same with sports and other interests as well. Anyways, so he was a professional jazz drummer in Seattle. So he'd get up in the afternoon and he lived the nightlife until 3, 4, 5 in the morning. Was pretty well known, was famous in the area actually, and then he was diagnosed with some condition. The doctor told him he was going to go blind in like 10 years. He said, you won't live into your 40s with the ability to see. There's nothing we can do. And being proactive, he decided, crap, that means I've got to kind of be ready to retire by the time I'm in my 40s. I don't have, I can't wait till I'm 65. So he went into the stock market. This was back in, I think, the early 80s. And these were the days where they, you get your license and then you get hired. Sometimes you get hired, then they get your license, or you get your license, get hired. Anyways, first day they just give you a phone book and they just say start generating leads, start calling people. Really hardcore, cold calls, 100% commission. He was also a minority, so he dealt with that as a Chinese American. But long story short, by the time he retired in 2005, he was a multi-millionaire, and he was set. He's still, I think now he's upwards of 70, and he's cruising around, gardening, doing his martial arts, cycling, still playing music, enjoying life. But he went through a lot to do that. He went through 20 plus years of 6-7 day weeks, getting up at 4 in the morning, dealing with basically Wall Street firm level stress, with people dying from heart attacks and snaking each other's clients and all kinds of backbiting in politics on a daily basis, and huge amounts of stress, dealing with millions of dollars, clients' money and reputation and all of that, and fluctuations in the market. But he stayed fit and on point through it, very disciplined, and came out on the other side ready for a lifestyle that was kind of lived on his terms, So he really drilled into a market that had that potential. And some people say with English teaching, yeah, you can open multiple locations and blah, 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 blah. You can make a really good living. But for me personally, I think there's other opportunities out there. I've done the English teaching thing. I feel like I've kind of done it to its limits, and I've lost interest. People say oh, you could do this and that in marketing, and no, No, there's too much else out there. There's too many other opportunities. I do enjoy teaching, and I've always had kind of like an attraction to it. Maybe it's because I'm the oldest among my siblings or something. I don't know. I've also, had a few teachers in my life that were master teachers. Um, they could just be so inspiring and impart you with so much understanding in just a matter of a couple of minutes. Just they could just invoke that click in your mind. You're just like, wow, okay, wow, like really, wow. But the truth is, ESL in Japan, it's incredibly repetitive. You're going to be dealing with really simple stuff. It's kind of like, I don't know. I mean, I'm not trying to knock it because it is a really good thing for the kids and the students here. You can imagine it's actually kind of difficult to do as an American or Canadian. So for anyone from any English-speaking country, it's hard to imagine like why English is such a big deal because you speak it natively. But if you can imagine there was some global language that your country didn't use, and if you could learn it, you would have all this prestige and opportunity abroad. And then native speakers of that would come live in your small town, and they would teach you and the children for pretty reasonable price and etc. That's a great thing, it really is. But as a native speaker who's kind of done it a lot, and you start thinking about what other opportunities are out there in the world, and the limits of time in this human lifetime, and so on and so forth, it gives me pause, just to so to speak. I feel like there's something I could be doing more, like in 20 years, what do I want to look back on? And I think really passing this business on to someone who's happy doing what they're doing is the best possible thing I can do. And then from there, wherever software development takes me, I think it'll be good. I'll be able to get a job, a very high-paying job at the very least. At the most, I mean, it's conceivable that I could start some kind of company of my own down the road, focused more on teaching and education. But I think it would probably be the fair thing to do to work for at least a few years in a company in the industry, so that I'm not just making things up when it comes to what it's like. That's the last thing you want to do. Kind of like the paramilitary guy who's like 300 pounds and can't even get up the stairs without having a heart attack. It's kind of like I don't know if this guy really knows what he's doing, although he'd like us to think he does. Whatever, come what may. This has been a really great experience. Because when I lived in Seattle, it was such an easy, fun, beautiful, like just rich life. I was really young. I was spending so much time with amazing people, following my hobbies, and really enjoying life. Great food, great bookstores, great friends. But I wasn't really thinking about my future. I was kind of listless. I didn't really have a skill set that was useful, besides being young and full of energy, and that's about it. So coming to Japan has really, really, really forced me to look at my life and where I'm going with it, and what's going to happen if I don't take action, which is very rare. It's very rare that happens. I think you have to grow up in a certain type of family to have that instilled in you. I didn't personally. My family was kind of like, we don't know what you should do, but we want you to be happy, and I didn't really have a lot of role models in my younger years, or a sense of direction at all. When I left the house, I went to art school, and then I took a year off, and I never went back, and I just found myself like, well, what do I do now, And I think if I'd stayed back home, I don't know what kind of event would have come along that would have snapped me out of it. Said, hey, you're getting into your closer to 30, and then you're getting, so on and so forth, where you suddenly realize like, oh God, I'm 40 and I work in retail, or I'm still a waiter or something. Those aren't necessarily bad things. I mean, the world needs retail workers and things, and you could become a store manager or something like that. But those are generally like a lot of times in life we kind of fall into default positions that are not the result of laziness so much as they are the result of kind of a lack of clear goal-defined effort. You know, we tend to live like on a very like short-term basis where it's like, I want to keep my job, I'm going to work hard today, and then when I'm off the clock, I'm just going to go home and relax, and then pretty soon it's Friday, and then might go out with some friends, and then, you know, got work starting again on Monday, and so on and so forth. And the years just turn into decades before you know it, and you realize, like, too late a lot of the times that I could have used this time. Like, there's really no difference. You see these people with companies, or people who have retired at a young age, or, you know, they've done something really kind of interesting and amazing with their life. There's no difference between them and you, save for that they took the time to put the effort into those incremental steps that took them to that place, you know? And it's like, when does that start? And when do you have the realization that you can do it? And so on and so forth. And so, not to say I'm like the super successful guy, but I feel like at the very, very least, I'm a little bit aware of how important it is to do something to change your life, you know, and not make excuses about it. I still struggle, you know. I feel like I should exercise more. I feel like I get out of bed too late. Like I spend way too much time in my head, like hesitating and kind of being lazy. I feel like there's a lot more I could do with my time, and I'm working on that. I mean, I've dealt with a lot in the past few years of family and stuff that just takes so much out of you. You know, sometimes we can take years to process things, and even then you're never really the same. You know, you can't go back. So a lot of it's just about moving forward and remembering that, you know, yesterday's gone, and pretty soon today will be gone too. So better start doing something. So that's been good. I mean, you know, as much of a struggle as it's been, it's not all time lost. You know, if I just like come over here and gotten my first Eikaiwa job, and I was still there 13 years later, hating it, and didn't speak any Japanese, and you know, was all fat, couldn't save money, didn't appreciate anything, just complained all day long. That would be pretty disappointing. I think I wouldn't be too happy with myself, and I don't think anyone else would either. You don't want to be a barnacle, you know, just you find your spot and sit there and take what comes. Don't do anything. So it's good, I think, to take on challenges, and also to know, like, when that challenge is over. You know, it's like, what do you want to do? You want to do this forever? Really? If you do, that's cool, you know, until you can't anymore. If it's not something you want to do forever, then why aren't you looking at trying something else? Why aren't you looking at what else is out there? And I think those are important questions to ask ourselves. And I often feel like I got like a really late start in life. I'm 39 now. I turned 39 last month, and sometimes I can't believe it. I'm like, it's the countdown. It's measured in just a few months until I'm 40. And it won't be too much longer from then until I'm 50, you know, and then 60, 70, holy smokes, you know. Those days will come, you know. Count back 30 years from now, I was 9 years old in 4th grade, Meeker Elementary School, and then 30 years from now I'll be 69, you know. Who knows what I'll be like, what will be happening in my life, but I know for sure those years will pass, and everyone and everything around me will grow and change, and I'm part of that. You know, the decisions I make each day and the actions I take or don't take will contribute to the results down the road. So in the past, whenever I had time, I would tend to focus on my hobbies, you know, like I'm gonna go cycling today, or I'm gonna go work out and train. And those are good. It's really good to be fit. It's good to have a fit body and a mind that's open and curious. But now I'm really starting to think, like, how can I secure a better future with my time I have now, and not just enjoy the day. which is a very crucial distinction, I think. I think a lot of us, whether we admit it or not, we're usually scheming in one way or another to somehow enjoy the day more than we are um, thinking about how to improve our future. I guess maybe like the best combination would be a lifestyle where in enjoying the day you are securing a better future. That's the dream. That's when you're doing when you're making like really good money doing what you love, and it's just giving you more and more energy to keep doing that, and you're just a positive force on everything around you. That's ideal. And I think that's why, like, when I think about the school and stuff and how it makes me feel, it's not like this horrible feeling of revulsion. It's more like, no, it's not what I love, and it's not securing a better future. So maybe I shouldn't be doing it, So to each their own. But those are my thoughts here in this second week into work after a break.